All right, so here we are in the last video and we have our animation, all that good stuff. Now we want to export it, obviously. So before we get to actually going to file export, what I want to go through is some best practices for when you want to export your animations. So obviously play it to make sure it's, playing how you want it, and set the stop here. Sorry, not that, this, to limit or control the length of your scene, right? Basic stuff. But also you want to check the render itself. So remember let's go here. Remember this flower shows us the render view. So if we click that, we can see if we were to export now, the background would be black because that is the default background, and we don't have a background, right? And the other thing to check before you add a background is to click and hold and click on the map view, and here you can just zoom in and check your animation to make sure the drawings don't have any gaps or anything like that. So you can click and hold, go back to the render view, and let's add a background to this quickly. All right, so go back to the OpenGL view, and we want to go to the node library, or you can just tap enter in the node view on Harmony 20 or later and type color card. Yes. Now this is plugged in at the back. Oh, that is bright. So this is plugged in at the back, and by default it is white. It doesn't have an exposure because it's an effect, but this just instantly adds a background. So if we click render, you can see here we have a background. Yay. So we're done. Obviously we are not. So we can go to the options here, that yellow box, and you can see here, first of all, offset Z. This means it is 12 in the back in the Z depth. So nothing should be behind this, even if we plug it in the front, right? Because it's so far behind, right? So let's click the color area here, and you can set this to something moody or whatever. So this looks pretty good to me. There's another option you can choose if you don't just want a solid color. So let's plug that out. And that is the gradient. So if we plug this in, unlike the color card, this can be layered easily, right? By default, it's not pushed all the way to the back. So in the options, you want to come down to the bottom and put either -12 or 12B. Wait, no, 12B doesn't work. Just -12. So then it will act like the color card. Okay, so now we have the gradient. You can set some colors that you like. So the first color, as you can see, is black, which is the top color, and the bottom is white. Right now is the bottom color. So if we tap that, and I will go to a bright color there, tap that, and you can, be clever and sample to get, something. Actually, let's go to multiple wheel mode. Yeah. So let's say this is something you want, right? So do something like that. Okay. So let's say this is something that you want, all right? And you checked your scene, nothing's wrong, everything's perfect. What you can do before you export is to also look at the camera mask. So if you click that, you can see exactly what is visible when you render without rendering, right? So without it on, the render view automatically enables a camera mask, but you can actually mimic it while you're in the camera view, which is really, really good. So everything looks good, looks pretty good. So let's go to export. Let's start exporting something. So let's go to File, Export, Movie. Okay, so simple stuff, right? We have the video format at the top, and coming down, you should see all of these settings. If you don't see these settings, you might have to install QuickTime. You should have done that from the first video, but that's okay. You still have time to go ahead and install QuickTime, restart Harmony or Windows, and you should be seeing what we have here. So MP4, extremely popular. Basically what I'm using right now to record this video. Then by default, you have QuickTime. Usually QuickTime is default. And then something that not many people use, I guess, Windows Media Video. So, but you're going to most likely stick with the two of these. All right. So let's click MOV. And here you have the output file. You can put it in your documents folder or obviously wherever you want. Videos or documents, wherever, right? And you can name it here or in the pop-up window. And the next thing you can do is select the display that you're rendering from. Right now, as you can see in the node view, we only have one display, okay? But in a big production, you might have characters separated to different displays, and you can select them here and render those characters separately. And now we have the export range, which is the range of your scene that Harmony is going to render. So the scene is 60 frames long, as you can see. So if we click all, this is grayed out and it renders everything, right? But if you wanted to say render half, you can do that, or a piece, you can do that too, right? So let's click all, and coming down, we have the scene resolution. This is pretty straightforward. You can render a portion of the resolution. This is very handy if you're animating in 4K and you just want to, get a quick preview or send a preview online, something smaller and faster, right? So we will skip this. Thankfully, it is grayed out already because we don't need to edit this right now, all right? This is not for our purposes. So let's go to options and movie options. Give it a second. Good. Now we have this window here. All right. These are the settings for the QuickTime format. So let's start with the video settings. Click this. And by default, you'll probably have it set to H.264, a very popular codec. If you don't want to get into all the complex codec information, that's fine. I'm not going to go that deep, okay? But I'd advise you to just do a little bit of research so you would know which is best for you. What I will say is H.264, MPEG-4, and PNG, in my experience, have been the most popular compression codecs to use, all right? So in a studio, you'll probably use H.264. Usually set it to best and leave everything as is. If you do choose to go with MPEG-4, make sure to click automatic here by the data rate, or else it will limit your bit rate. And you might not want that, all right? And lastly, PNG. This is usually used when you want transparency in your video. Yes, videos can have transparency. And to get that, you have to make sure the plus is here. Millions of colors plus. That plus means the alpha. We don't have transparency anymore because we added a background. So we're not going to use that. So let's go to the default H.264. Click OK. And you have two other options here, but these are not used because these things are done in other software, right? Adding effects and stuff. But if you don't have other software, feel free to experiment. you know, add all types of cool stuff. Shows you a little preview here. And then again, the size, you should have set the size to what you want, but otherwise you can override that and Harmony will do the scaling for you. So these are the video settings. And for the sound, very simple. If your animation does not have sound, just disable that, or you're wasting data. If it does, please, for everyone's benefit, go into settings and at least change this to stereo. I do not know why it is on mono by default. Doesn't make any sense to me. But change that to stereo and max it out here in the bitrate, please. We don't have sound, so disable that. As for the internet streaming, no one uses this, no one cares. It usually has no effect. So I didn't used to get this error before, so I guess this is a new issue. So to solve this, open back up the movie options, go to settings, and you can see Harmony fixed it for us. But in case you go in from scratch, be sure to click all here, and that should solve the issue. All right. So this is ready. Let's call this, what are we calling this? Export pen sharp for pendulum. So click OK, and it will likely render pretty quickly because this is a very simple scene. Okay, so this error shows up from time to time and it's very inconsistent. So I've already exported this before and it worked without any issues. For the sake of keeping this video under an hour, I'm not going to go through that error in full detail. So just restart your computer, restart Harmony, and if necessary, reinstall QuickTime. So for now, let us go to movie options, go to settings and change this to PNG. All right. You don't need the plus because we don't have an alpha, but we could just leave it. And our other settings are still here, still good. Click OK. No errors. Click OK. Yes, we would like to overwrite and let Harmony do its thing, and all should be well, right? Please be well. Yes. So it exported without any issues. I find H.264 is the one that usually has the most issues. So anyway, so we have our export here and we double click it. And the PNG codec is very specific, so let us open it with QuickTime just to make sure it loads instead of the default player in Windows. Let's give that a second. Nice. So you can see the crispy, clean quality that we just exported with. So that is the basics of exporting inside of Harmony. But I'm not going to end there. I will show you how to export the GIF, right? So if you're using Harmony 16 and onward, I believe it is 16 plus, you should have this option here, animated GIF, finally, right? So you can click that, go to browse, and put a name for that. So we'll say penned GIF. Well, I mean, it's .gif already. So click save, and you have some similar settings here. We went through 2 of these already. Well, 3 of these actually. So at the bottom for the options, you have dithering. This is going to become more important when you have stuff like we have here, gradients and stuff. And it helps with compression, with patterns and other things. We can leave that to none for now. And of course we want it to loop, right? Like why else would we be making a GIF? So before we click OK, you can see here we have same as scene resolution. No one probably uses 1080p GIFs, but let's see what happens. Click OK when the GIF takes longer than the video. Nice. So it's finally finished. So let's go to that folder now. Let's go there. Nice. So let's double click and we have a super huge GIF of our ball. And it's only a little over a megabyte. Pretty nice. Let's click OK. And we can obviously export GIF. Go there. And here is where this would come in pretty handy. So you can say a quarter. Now this is a regular GIF size. Click OK. Overwrite. And that was a little annoying. That was a lot faster. So let's look at the GIF now. Super small. And now it looks like a regular GIF. Yes, I say GIF and not GIF. I'm sorry. So the only thing left to show you would be exporting a still image. So if you had obviously characters and all other cool type of stuff, let us disable this gradient because I want to show you. So let's go to File, Export, Layout Image, and that is what they are calling it. All of these other options are usually video or GIF. So click Layout Image, and we have a lot of settings here. So the usual document setting stuff. And then you also have this file pattern with some symbols. I'll explain that in a second. The file format, as you can see, we can export to PSDs and a whole lot of other formats. So let's click PNG4. The 4 means RGBA. So 4 channels. Yes, 4 channels. So RGB is 3 channels, and then you have alpha will be the 4th. So we want transparency, so make sure you have that selected. I don't want the camera frame in the export. And here's a nice one. You can actually scale the image. So if this is a 1080p, you can actually scale this to, and pay attention to the image size here, 200, and you get a 4K image, right? Because that is twice as big. And you can also expand the area around your render, but we don't need that. Maximum size, this limits it. So if you put in a huge expansion, it will, a huge scaling, it will cap. It won't go any further than this. You can obviously disable that. So let's keep that there. And these are the art layers that will be visible when you export. So click OK. Normally will take a second. Export, and here we put it in documents. So as you can see here, it has a name, right? Double click that and you can see we have the alpha, right? This is the color of this this window. So this has an alpha on it. Nice transparency. So you can see here it has 08_exporting, which is the name of our scene, _13, which is the frame we are on. So if we go back to File, Export, Layout Image, you can see %S clearly means scene name. Oh, you can see it here. Not sure why it's showing up like that, but yeah. So a scene name, and then %F is for the frame number. So you can obviously remove all that and just say my export, oops, and then export it however you want. But I find it nice that you can leave it like that, so you don't have to, think about all that extra stuff. See, it also exports this other file, which we usually delete. And here you go. You have an export of your scene. All right. So you know how to export it as a GIF, a video, and a still image of any frame you select. All right. So that brings us to the end of this introductory series. So we went through quite a few things, from the drawing tools to the animation tools, the layout of Harmony itself, how to save your own layout, how to animate with the drawing tools, and how to animate with the animation tools, obviously. And now we have completed how to export your animations so you can share with your friends and stuff. So I encourage you to rewatch all of the videos, because by the time you get to this one, you may have forgotten one or two things, or maybe you just need a refresher. So it's always best to keep practicing, keep watching, and thank you for staying with me for this video. So I hope you are subscribed, because I will be releasing more videos in the future. And thanks again for the support. I guess I'll see you later. Respect. Protect.